Hey everyone, this is Chris and Sandy with the Chris and Sandy Show. Where we get up close and personal, some amazing guests throughout the entertainment industry. And today, like I said, on every episode, we got a great one for you. Who do we have?
We have David Lee Jones with us today. He's a music artist who has made a huge impact throughout his career. He holds a Carolina Music Award for Best Country Male Artist for 5 years running.
And we're excited to have him on. So welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
You know, I always like to start the show out kind of the same way. I'm sure next year it'll be different because we're kind of on the other side of the pandemic.
We are, thankfully.
I still like to talk about that. As you know, last couple of years been rough for a lot of people, but especially entertainment. So how did that affect you, and what did you do to get through it?
Actually, I was lucky, thanks to your state of Georgia and North Dakota. I was still able to work through the pandemic, not as much. We went down from, I was doing maybe 200 shows a year, and it dropped to maybe 100, 110. It probably cut in half, but I was still able to go to Georgia. I was still able to
It's like us, we live in Savannah, so we get what you're saying.
We get, we were the first state to open back up.
Because I played in I have like a regular schedule over in Lyons, about an hour from you guys.
Oh, okay.
And we play a place called Kerrigan's over there, Kerrigan's Country, I think is what it's called. And they stayed wide open. I don't remember a time I had anything scheduled there and they said, "Well, we're shut down. You can't come." I was
wow.
And North Dakota, Mandan and Minot, North Dakota, I have regular schedules out there, and they stayed open for the most part. They shut down for a few weeks, but luckily it was weeks that I wasn't scheduled to be there. So,
so that worked.
There. In Casper, Wyoming, we played during the pandemic. So it cut everything in half, but it didn't literally shut me down to where I was sitting home and not doing anything. So we were lucky. We were real lucky.
Yeah, I mean, because we were in Georgia too, so we get it. Because, like, you know, a lot of people thought we were crazy when we told them that, you know, by August 2020, we were back fully into church.
Exactly.
We were.
Yeah.
You know, and because, again, we were so excited that Georgia was, again, we were either the craziest guinea pigs or we was going to prove everybody that can still work. Either way, but we opened up.
Well, it worked for me, that's for sure.
And, you know, we launched this show like a couple months before, you know, January 2020. So a couple months before everything. We did. And our original plan was maybe 100 interviews that first year. Thought if we could do that, be a great foundation. And then as everything started getting shut down, I told Sandy, I was like, you know, this could be a blessing in disguise for us because now everybody has time.
That's right.
Yes.
and because of that, we did over 300 interviews that first year, and we're at 600 now.
Wow, that's great. That's great.
And it really catapulted us because we got guests like a Randy Travis, Sarah Evans, and people like that we could have never imagined getting it before the pandemic.
Oh yeah, the pandemic changed a lot of things for a lot of people. I'm actually communicating with people I never thought I would communicate with because it all started during the pandemic. So, like your Randy Travis's and Sarah Evans, and even some of the newer guys, Luke Combs and like that, you know, because of the pandemic, it's like, for fear of sounding arrogant, but it's like they went from here to down here where we are now.
Yeah.
And everybody's kind of, it brought everybody down to the same level on the same playing field, and the communication just completely opened up. It didn't matter what level you're on, how many shows you're doing a year, how much money you're making, how many zeros you got behind your paycheck. Everybody kind of dropped right down, and we were on the same level and communicating and just trying to figure things out. And for me being an independent artist, and I consider myself on that lower tier, you know, it made a big difference for me to actually be able to communicate with people that has been doing it for 20 and 30 years and making $1 million a show, you know.
That's
so
cool.
It made the pandemic did that good thing for guys like me, But at the same time, those that were up there making all that, it kind of shut them down for a long time.
And something I think that we can learn from the pandemic too is, we've always had this technology, but I think that what's going to happen in the future, and I've already started seeing it, is where you do your live shows, but you also set up your live streams with the show so that while you're doing the show, people around the world can still watch you too.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm still trying to get all that up and running because what we do, I don't have a sound technician. I don't have a light guy. It's just the four of us on the road. We do it all. And
you're just grinding it out.
Oh yeah. And stream the whole show means I have to put my phone somewhere to actually record the show. And I don't trust just setting my phone up and there's people around the club that can just pick it up and take off.
Right.
But see, if I had somebody that could supervise all that, then we could do every show. But I'm just weary of setting my phone up and then walking to the stage.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure all that out.
I can see it. The audience is watching you, and then all of a sudden they go up, and they're like, "Okay, what's going on?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the stream goes down the hall into the elevator. And
yeah.
That would be, oh man, that would be bad. That would be real bad.
That'd be real bad.
But it might catch who stole it without realizing it.
Yeah, because it would all be documented.
A lot of people, they see you and they see the glory and all this, but they don't see the grind, the sacrifice, the tears, the struggles it takes to get any level within entertainment. And I always want to talk about that side of it. So tell us a little bit about the sacrifices and struggles you've had to go through in your career so far.
Okay, well, I can tell you recently, this week, as a matter of fact, we were in Mandan, North Dakota last week, and we left on Sunday. I wanted to leave Sunday morning, but it ended up being about 4:30 Sunday afternoon because there was 24 inches of snow on the ground.
Ooh, oh wow!
And see, people don't see all that, because we wake up. I woke up Thursday morning. We were staying in an Airbnb there, and we woke up Thursday morning, and there was 18 inches of snow on the ground Thursday morning. When we woke up.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
We literally had to dig the truck out to get to the club to work that Thursday night. Because the club owner, the club manager told me, she says, well, you don't have to come if you don't want to, if it's going to be too difficult. And I'm like, well, is that going to affect my money? Because, out here, that's the whole process. Is we're making money to pay bills. And she's like, if you don't work, it's going to affect your money. I said, well, then we're going to be there, So at this point, it's like 3:30 in the afternoon. We're outside with just our feet kicking snow away from the tires so we can actually move the truck. Yeah. And even at that point, I went out several times and just put the truck in drive and reverse and just rocked it back and forth. So when it was time to go, maybe I'd have enough space that I could just gas on it and get on through the snow and get out to the street. But that's one struggle. I mean, and then we drive from Mandan, North Dakota to here in Grantville, Pennsylvania all week. And it's like the snow followed us. Everywhere we went, it was snowing. And
wow.
I mean, that's one of the traveling part of it. People don't realize I'm the only one that drives. So I'll drive 14, 16 hours and then we'll stop, get gas. I'll take a nap and then we're driving some more,
Wow.
But that's just a part of it. Then once we get to the venue, depending on the size of the venue, I have different setups that I do for the show.
Yeah.
And the bigger setup, we have a 10-foot truss with lights, and we've got about 32 lights that we put up on the stage, and all the sound equipment and stuff. We set all that up ourselves. And say if showtime is 8:00, normally I like to be set up and sound check by lunchtime.
Sure.
So we're starting 9:30, 10 in the morning to get everything done before the place opens. Like this place here is inside a hotel, and it's a bar and a restaurant that opens at 4:00. So, So when we got here from driving all the way from North Dakota, we were inside the club at 9:30, and I woke up somewhere in Ohio earlier that day. So, earlier that morning. So started driving at maybe 4:15 that morning. So we drove from there all the way here, and then set up the show and sound checked everything. Went and got something to eat, and I was finally able to lay back down Wednesday evening about 7:00.
And with you being married, I'm sure that's a sacrifice in itself.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm married. I got kids at home. I got my third is in college at Appalachian State University in North Carolina. So it's tough because I left home to pick my guys up in Nashville on October 6th, and we haven't been back. And so
we was in Nashville on October 6th.
We were,
Oh yeah.
Day after our anniversary. Yeah.
Having small kids at home, it's a little tougher. For our 24-year-old, she's grown, so she sees us when she can see us anyway.
Yeah.
But my little boy's 11, my little girl's 9.
Yeah.
It's a big age difference.
Oh yeah. Well, they're from a previous marriage. My first wife passed in 2013 when they were real small. So, but I mean, the woman I'm married to now, Amy Jones, she stepped into that role, and she's their mom, and
wow.
She loves them like they're hers, and they love her like she's theirs. So I was lucky there that all that happened the way it did. But it's still tough because the kids need their dad, and
they do,
and they always understand that this is my job, and
it's what pays the bills, right?
Oh yeah, and they know when I leave, my whole goal from the time I walk out the door is to get back home. So and see, a lot of people don't see all they see. We get up on stage, we play music.
They see the glory part. They don't see all the other stuff.
Yeah.
They don't see that I work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that's basically my job. When I'm not on stage, I'm either like doing these things with you guys, or I'm calling and messaging and texting, trying to book stuff so we can, keep the money coming in, because there's going to be a point where I'm getting on up in age, so there's going to be a point where it's just going to stop, and I'm not ready for it to stop yet, but there's going to be like, this is it. This is the last one. So
you need to be at the Blake Shelton level when you get there, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I can just go fishing and hunting, and the checks are still coming in from the album.
That's always the dream, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's I've been working at it now for about 30 years, and I'm a lot closer than I was, but I'm not as close as I want to be.
We definitely get that. Even doing our show, we have big dreams for this show and all that, and we grind it out, and people see the enjoyment we have when we're on the show. But they don't see the rejections, emails that we get. Now, we don't get on the road like you do, but we still have our share of that things we got to balance. We got a 10-year-old and a 3-year-old. You got to balance all that. And,
yes.
And I have to reach out to hundreds of people a month to try to book shows, and it gets tiring at times.
It does.
Oh, yeah. I'm constantly exhausted. I mean, just sitting here in this hotel room, after we get done with this, I'll work the rest of the day until showtime.
Wow.
Yeah, that's just me. I work nonstop.
Now let's flip the script and talk about what makes it worthwhile. What are a few wow moments that you've had in your career so far?
I've opened for a lot of what I would call now my heroes.
Oh yeah.
I've opened for Johnny Paycheck. I've opened for Waylon Jennings,
Wow.
Merle Haggard, and then your newer artists, Brooks and Dunn, before Troy passed, Montgomery Jenkins,
Oh, okay.
Keith Urban, Toby Keith. There's a long list. Blake Shelton. When Blake Shelton first came out, I was playing lead guitar with a band called 8 Second Ride, and we were like the regular national act opener. So anybody that came through Raleigh, North Carolina, 9 times out of 10, we were opening for them.
Oh wow!
Oh yeah.
So I've opened for a lot of people whose music that I'm playing today. So that's probably the biggest wow moment. And then winning the Carolina Music Award for the first time in 2018. Luke Combs was in that category with me in 2018.
Oh wow.
And I won. And I wasn't even there to be able to accept the award because we were in not Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, Virginia. I go up there that night, so my wife and my oldest daughter went, and they accepted it, and it was like,
what was that like for them?
Oh, my daughter was excited. She was all over Snapchat. She said, "My dad beat Luke Combs." It was all over Snapchat. And for me, it was at the same time, it was a real exciting moment because he already had like number ones on the radio.
Yeah.
For him to be in that category and I win that category was like amazing. But at the same time, I'm thinking he's winning CMAs and ACs. Probably don't care, but I don't look at that part of it. I just look at the part that I won and he was there in that category. So, but that's probably the biggest thing. I've been a Carolina Music Award winner for the past 5 years.
Wow.
And I look at both sides of it. I look at the fact that I'm out here doing this and people like what I do. That's why they're voting for me. But at the same time, I look at I'm probably the only one out here in that category doing what I'm doing because it's supposed to be North Carolina and South Carolina artists.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I honestly think I'm the only one that's in that category that's like touring nationally. So I have, again, for fear of sounding arrogant, I have a bigger fan base than a lot of these guys that are in that category. So at the same time, it feels good to win it, but the humble part of me feels like sometimes it's not fair because I'm kind of doing it on a bigger scale than what everybody else is doing.
It's like you want to go to that next level.
Right.
Yeah.
And I want to see somebody else. That's the difference between me. I meet a lot of people that don't see things the same way that I do. I'm glad that I'm out here doing what I'm doing, but at the same time, I want to see some of these other guys come out here and do it too.
Yeah.
I'm not the type to say, well, this is what I'm doing. You stay where you're at and let me stay where I'm at and everybody's fine. I want to grab them and bring them with me, because just like this past year, there's a lot of great talent in North and South Carolina that were in that category with me. And one of the guys, his name's Zach Williams, he actually opened the show singing a song that he wrote. And just as soon as I heard him open his mouth, I knew right then, I'm not going to win this category. This guy is going to take it. And I still won. But at the same time, me and this kid now are friends. I'm friends with his parents. And I keep telling his mom all the time, when he gets in a spot where he can leave his job for a little while, I want to bring him on the road with me.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
At some point, he opens my show, and then he gets to where we are now, and then maybe I can quit and run sound for him. I don't have to work so hard if I'm running sound for somebody else.
Yeah.
You just hop in the bus and go, right? And then and hook it up when you get there.
Exactly. So I mean, that's just me of who I am. I appreciate what I'm doing, but I would love to see some of these other guys come out here and do it too, because that's just the way I was raised, I guess. It's not all about me. It's about everybody else.
Love that. A lot of people would ask, when did you know you wanted to do music? But I always like to go deeper than that. When did it click for you that this could be a career?
Probably as far back as I can remember. I'm gonna say 3 years old, because I saw Elvis perform when I was 3 on television.
Okay.
And at that point, I told my mama was a big Elvis fan, and I told her at 3 years old, that's what I want to do. I want to sing and be Elvis. That's exactly what I told her. And
oh, wow.
Of course, over the years, I haven't tried to be Elvis, but Elvis, to me, for what I do, Elvis has been my role model. You have a lot of critics, especially a lot of vocal critics, that said Elvis was probably the worst singer that ever stepped on stage. But for what he did, the entertainment factor of it, he didn't have to sing. He could have just stood there. And,
and they'd still faint.
Yeah. So Elvis has always been like the focal point for me. I kind of try to do my show in that aspect, but I don't think I would ever want to be on a level that he was at, where people have to shut down theaters just so I can go to a movie and stuff like that. I've never wanted to be what I would call famous.
Well, think about what Taylor Swift is going through right now. She shut down Ticketmaster.
True.
Yeah.
I saw that a few days ago, and I was like, wow, that's just crazy. But
it is just nuts. I guess she's kind of our modern day Elvis in a way.
Right. Yeah. And I've always told people, they ask me, have you ever wanted to be famous? And to me, famous to me is to walk in the grocery store at my house and in the hometown that I live in, and somebody say, "Hey, David, how are you doing?" To me,
yeah.
And I just recently, talking about that, I just recently made the cover of our local magazine at home. So it's called Washington the Magazine, and it's online. Anybody can look it up and Google it. But I actually made the cover of that, and they did a big article. I thought I was doing an article for the newspaper.
Yeah.
And after I won the Carolina Music Award this year, just a few weeks ago, and I thought that I was interviewing for the newspaper, and then it turns out they put me on the cover of a magazine and used a lot of my wife's photos that she had taken of me inside the magazine in the article. So she's excited about that, because her photography made the cover of a magazine. And so it's been a big deal for me, locally, because now I feel like people know who I am, where I live. And I travel all over this country, and people recognize me. I was recognized in a gas station in St. Cloud, Minnesota. A few years back, I was recognized in a Walmart in Casper, Wyoming. And of course, at the time, we had a bus, and my bus was in the parking lot. So I kind of think that had something to do with it too, But I was
still humble.
Yeah.
I was looking for a TV to put in my bedroom in the bus at the time, and this lady walks up and she's like, "Are you David Lee Jones?" And I'm looking like I've got, or she's got 15 heads, and I'm thinking, how do you know who I am? And she's like, they play your music on the radio out here. And I'm like, okay. And I told her, I said, how do you recognize me? I said, well, I know my bus is out front. She's like, oh, we know who you are. And I'm like, it feels good, but at the same time, it's kind of creepy. Because I go places and people are like, hey, that's David Lee Jones. And I'm like, what? Am I on the news? Have I done?
That's why some people stick to songwriting, because they don't want the fame, but they would still like to be part of the music industry. And so you would never hear of who they are. And they got a lot of money because of songwriting.
Like when Chris Stapleton first came out, he wrote number ones for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I still remember when he won the ACM award, in his speech, he thanked everybody else. He said, because y'all bought my house. And even at that point, he's winning this big award, but yet he's still humble to thank everybody else that recorded his music. And for me, I guess that's kind of the way I am. You know, I write my own stuff, and I've even pitched a few songs to, you know, Nashville, and of course nobody's picked it up. But at the same time, I would love for like Blake Shelton, Alan Jackson, or somebody like that to cut one of my songs, because then I'm buying it. So, but
I mean, that's like, I remember the story of where a guy was performing many years ago in Nashville, and he was a songwriter. He wasn't really an artist, and he was performed his song. And if I understand it correctly, a guy walks up to him and tells him, you know, I'm new to Nashville. I'm here to get a record deal. When I get a record deal, I want to cut that song. And he eventually got the record deal, and it was The Dance, and it was Garth Brooks.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, can you imagine that all of a sudden? Because I'm sure that guy was probably like, yeah, I've heard that, you know.
Right.
And then here it is. That guy's been writing all these years with Garth, you know.
Yeah. And speaking of Garth is doing great things in Nashville. He I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but you know, he's getting his own bar in Nashville.
Yeah. We've seen it.
Yeah, we've seen which building it is. Yeah.
And from what I understand, he is putting a police headquarters on Broadway.
Yep.
I read about that. Yeah, I read about that. That's awesome.
On money, and to increase the police presence on Broadway, because it's getting really bad there, from what I understand. And
yeah, because every time we go visit Broadway, Nashville. I mean, you can't go to Nashville without going to Broadway. So we always go to Broadway. It does get. I mean, we take our kids with us too, but it does get rowdy.
It does.
It does. And the later it gets, the worse it gets. And
we've noticed that.
Like for us, to be honest with you, I like, my favorite time to go to Broadway would be a Friday or Saturday night after 9 p.m. because you can walk in the middle of the roads.
Yeah.
Then it's not as bad, you know, because again, if you go down there like 9 o'clock on a Thursday night, you're squunched up with all the people on the sidewalks.
Exactly.
But Friday and Saturday night, they block off Broadway, and now you can just walk down Broadway and just enjoy.
Oh yeah, definitely. And to me, that's what they call the prime time shifts, and you're going to hear all the best music at that point.
Yeah.
Fridays night after 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
I love it. Of course, me personally, I'm all country. I've always been country. I did play heavy metal back in the day, but I grew up listening to country. Old Hank Sr. and Roy Acuff. That's what my dad used to listen to. Conway. I strayed a little while and went towards the Metallica and Megadeth and Anthrax and all that.
Yeah.
But for me, it's real country, and Nashville's not so much anymore. You know, you can go down on Broadway now and hear just as much rock and roll as you do country. And
it's true.
That's one of the reasons I feel like subconsciously I never wanted to move to Nashville, because
they're trying to make it Music City, not country music city.
Right. And I remember the first time I went to Nashville was about 25 years ago, and it didn't matter what bar you walked into, there was a fiddle player and a steel guitar player. And
oh wow.
And they're few and far between now. There's maybe one or two. I think you can go to Roberts.
Okay, yeah.
And Layla's, you can still hear like the steel guitar country. And I'm a big fan of Music City Bar and Grill and the Nashville Palace out towards Opry Mills. That's real country out there. You're going to hear rock and roll in either one of those clubs at all. But, and when you go to Nashville, go to Music City Bar and Grill. My buddy Tom Baker plays there. He's originally from North Carolina. And if you like good, what I call real country music, Keith Whitley, Vern Gosdin, stuff like that, Tom is probably the best in town. I will say that.
Love that. Now, you know, a lot of people see you, but they don't see the team around you. In our opinion, teams never get love. But on our show, they get a little love. So take a few moments and tell us about the team that helps you be who you are.
Well, right now on the road, my bass player, Sean Janae, he's from right there in Nashville. He's originally from Stockton, California. He's probably the best musician I've ever stepped on stage with. He's a phenomenal bass player. He's a great guitar player. He's a phenomenal drummer. He writes his own music, and the music that he writes is actually alternative rock. But when it comes to country music, he can sure play it. That's for sure. And my guitar player is Jeremy Leitz. He actually has his own guitar company called Leitz Guitars. And he didn't play a note of country music until he stepped on stage with me October the 7th. And he's originally a rock and roll guitar player, but
you're converting everybody.
Oh yeah, he's doing the job. And I'm hoping he's gonna stick around for a while. He says he is. My drummer is Mike Carson. Of course, Jeremy, he's originally from Indiana, but he lives in Nashville now. My drummer's Mike Carson. He's originally from Indiana as well. He lives in Nashville, and he plays on Broadway some. And I want to say Mike's a rock and roll guy too. But it's funny because we all have kind of country roots, but we all have rock and roll roots too. And that's what
and rock really does blend a lot with country.
It's really weird because my show is unique because I tell everybody, they ask me, well, what kind of music you play? And I always say the only kind, country. But at the same time, I tell people we play everything from Merle Haggard to Metallica. Because the musicians are so diverse, we can play all that different. And what makes it unique, I've seen like rock and roll bands try to play country and it doesn't sound country. I've try to play rock and roll and it doesn't sound like rock and roll. But I can tell everybody, and I guarantee 100%, our country sounds like country, our southern rock sounds like southern rock, and once we get into like the Metallica and the Slayer, it sounds like Metallica and Slayer. We have that much diversity that whatever genre of music we're playing, it sounds like you hear it on the radio. And right now I'm working with Two Gems Entertainment out of Nashville, Miss Marnie Erickson. And
we love her. Yeah.
And she's we signed this little contract. We've been friends for years. And I was joking with her and I told her, I said, you know, I'll sign this deal with you. I said, but you got to work for me just as hard as I work for me. Because it's been a regular thing, people want to work with me. And then, you know, when the contract time is over with, we look at what I've done and then we look at what they've done, and it's like 90.
It's like you could have done it yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So I told her, I said, you know, if we're going to work together, you got to work for me because I don't stop working. And so far, I mean, she's booked me with you guys, so we're doing something.
Love that.
Awesome.
So we signed a 6-month contract, and once that's over with, we're going to look at it, and I don't see any problem with signing another one. So that's really the only team I got. And my wife at home, she's the reason that I'm doing this. I used to just Friday nights around home, and she told me, she said, if you want to get where you need to be, you need to get out there and do it. So she's kind of to start touring, and at one time I was driving trucks. And I was working for a guy that would actually let me get off for 3 or 4 weeks and go and do this and then go home and get right back in my truck and go right back to work. But in 2018, I left in August for a 4-week run, and I called him 3 days before we were getting ready to leave to come back home. And the conversation didn't strike me as, well, when you come back home, we go back to work and everything's fine. His exact words were, "Well, we'll talk about it when you get home."
Yeah.
That registered in my mind. Well, I don't have a job, so
Yeah.
this is a job from now on. So
and you've been this ever since, huh?
Yeah, I've been doing this since 2018, full time.
Yeah.
Love that. Speaking of teams, we have a third co-host, our little 10-year-old that we bring on to ask questions. So Sandy's going to go get him.
I'll get it.
Okay.
And while we're waiting for him to come in, what's next for you?
Well, I just had a birthday. I'm a half a century old now. So I don't know if I've got a timeline that I'm working towards, and if it doesn't go up from here, once that timeline's up, I'll probably just go home, and I'll still play music. I'll still write music, but as far as traveling around the country, if it doesn't happen for me within this little window that I've got for myself, I'll go home. I'll find a job at home and be dad again. But
David.
My kids enjoy the fact that I'm out here doing this because they're kind of known at school now, and everybody's like, "Oh, you're David Lee Jones's kid," and they're like, "Yeah."
But they like that part.
Oh yeah, my little girl, my 9-year-old, she's it's about exhausted for her. She's every time she hears it now, she rolls her eyes. She's like, "Yeah, Daddy." So,
all right, hi David. So, what's your favorite food?
Say that again.
What's your favorite foods?
My favorite foods? I like pizza. I like any Italian food: spaghetti, lasagna, chicken Alfredo. When we're on the road, probably a double cheeseburger from McDonald's because I can grab it and go. So,
because what's yours?
Mine's pizza.
I missed that. What?
Mine's pizza.
Oh, pizza. Pizza's great. I love pizza.
We'd eat all day long if we could.
There's an Exxon right across the road from this hotel we're staying in. After the show every night, I'll go get a slice of pizza, and they actually have macaroni and beef over there. So that's what I eat every.
Okay, so what's your TV show?
Favorite TV show? My favorite TV show that's not on TV anymore was The Dukes of Hazzard. My favorite TV show now would probably have to be Yellowstone. Everybody loves.
We had John Snyder come on the show recently.
Oh, really?
That was an interesting conversation. He's really awesome.
I like John. John's really opinionated.
That's why when he come on, I knew, as you know, I always ask the question about COVID and all that.
Yeah.
He was the one person that I did not go there because I knew where he stood. And I knew, with his opinions, he'd rant for 10, 20 minutes.
So I have watched him on Facebook Live for 30 minutes ranting about the government and COVID and everything. So, yeah, that's probably not a subject to go with John on.
Yeah, I knew better than that. But we had a great interview with him and all that.
I'm sorry. My wife is calling.
But we had a great interview with him. No, he was really great.
That's awesome. I've always liked John Steiner. Him and Tom Wopat both. They're probably the nicest guys you would ever want to meet. Until you get on the wrong subject, and then they go off.
But it's good to have. You don't want everybody to be the same.
Right.
And we need people that are opinionated. We need people on all sides opinionated, because I think sometimes either side can dominate, and then that's not good either. I think we need to hear from all sides so that everybody can kind of see what's out there.
Yeah, true.
All right. My favorite TV show is SpongeBob.
Really? You like SpongeBob?
Mm-hmm.
And you're 10? I'm just kidding. I like SpongeBob too. When my kids don't watch SpongeBob anymore, but I'd sit right down and watch them, and I'd watch SpongeBob too. Patrick would probably be my favorite on SpongeBob because
That's my favorite.
Exactly. See, everybody loves Patrick because he just kind of goes with it. You know, whatever you tell him to do, he's going to do it. You know.
Okay, what's your favorite movie?
Superman, obviously. People call me Superman, and I called my dad Superman, but not like I like the original Superman with Christopher Reeve. To me, of course, now I used to watch the Superman TV show too with George Reeves, but to me, Christopher Reeve was Superman. Once Chris died, Superman died for me. You know, but there's still some great Superman movies now, but my favorite was probably the original Superman movie with Christopher Reeve. Yeah,
love that. What's yours?
All right, mine is Minions.
Now, see, that's a good one too. I like Minions too.
Yes.
My kids love Minions. What was that movie? Despicable Me, I think it was, where the Minions were in. Yeah, I really like that movie.
Yeah. I think one of his favorites is Despicable Me too. But we just seen Minions 2, The Rise of Gru. Yeah. It's in the theaters, and we actually saw it in Nashville, which was pretty cool.
Oh, cool. I haven't seen Minions 2 yet.
I think it's still in the theater, if I'm not mistaken.
If it is in North Carolina, I'll have to take the kids when I get home for sure.
They'll love it. It's basically of Gru when he was little.
Oh, okay. All right.
So you get to see why he is the way he is. They really good made movie.
Oh, cool. Okay, yeah, we definitely got to see that.
All right.
Bye, thanks.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, he definitely loves to be on the show.
Oh,
so
yeah.
If you could co-write with any artist, who would it be?
Alan Jackson. Absolutely.
That's a good one.
Yeah. To me, Alan Jackson would probably be my all-time hero. I mean, I love Waylon, Merle, Willie, and all them, but Alan Jackson would be it for me. And I would say George Strait, but I don't think George writes a lot. But I know Alan writes a lot of his own stuff. So I would love to sit down and write with Alan Jackson.
Love that. So if you could bring back anybody who's passed on to spend a day with you and write, who would it be?
Probably Waylon. Because he wrote some good stuff too. Yeah. It would have to be Waylon Jennings.
Love that. So where do you want to be in 5 years?
Maybe have a few more zeros behind my paycheck. But I don't know. In 5 years, I'd like to still be doing this and be able to live a little bit better than what we're living, and know that when I decide to retire, I don't have to work so hard until I die, you know. But at the same time, you know, if it doesn't happen for me in 5 years, I'd like to go back to coaching baseball and just being dad at home, you know. I enjoy every minute that I have at home, and being that we travel the way we do now, I probably overdo it while I'm at home, you know, because I want to spend as much time with my wife and my kids as I can, because I know when I leave, it's at least 3 weeks, if not more. So, like
so
this
let's look
here was like 7.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So let's look 15 years down the road. And let's say you are a success on a grand scale. Whatever that looks like for you, you're there. What do you hope you never forget along that journey?
How it all started. That's the whole thing for me. It doesn't matter how far I go, how long I do it. I'll always remember being 3 years old, playing a Lowry teeny organ in my mom and dad's single wide trailer. And it doesn't matter how many places I go, how many stages I step on. It all goes back to them at that point, because I know if I'd have never put my fingers on the keyboard, I'd never be doing this right now.
Yeah.
I'd probably still be driving a truck.
What inspires you?
People, honestly, people inspire me. To be on stage and looking off the stage and people are having a good time, smiling, dancing, and singing the songs that I'm singing, especially singing my songs that I'm singing. That inspires me to get up the next day and do it all over again. And it's always been that way for me. I talk about paying bills and making money. If we didn't have bills to pay and didn't need the money, I'd do it for free. Just because it excites me to excite other people, I guess, is the best way to describe it.
Love that.
Awesome. What would you like for your legacy to be? What would you like to be known and remembered for?
Probably being a good father and being able to balance work and home, and just being a nice guy, because I try to be. I wake up every day telling myself, you're not going to be ugly today. And 9 times out of 10, I'm not. You meet that one person that you just have to kind of lay it all out on the table for. But 9 times out of 10, I get along with everybody, and I hope, if nothing else, people will remember that about me, is I'm easy to get along with anybody.
Yeah. And what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Never stop moving forward, but never lose sight of where you came from. I was in high school, and I started playing in a country band at home when I was 19, and everybody else in that band were old enough to be my parents. The guitar player, his name was Darwin Powell, and he told me that. He said, if you're going to be a success in music, he said, never stop moving forward. He said, but don't ever forget where you came from. So,
love that.
Advice.
So as we close out here, we're kind of going along that advice also. What advice would you give that person that wants to do what you do?
Probably I'd have to quote Steve Harvey. Just jump. You never know. You never know that you jump into it and go. And if there's somebody out there that wants to play music for a living, you're never going to find out unless you just do it. And I was kind of not given a choice, because when my boss man told me, well, we'll talk about it when we get home, that was my moment right there. Well, it's time for me to jump. And we're going to jump head first, and we're going to see what happens. And I've been doing it for 5 years, and I won't tell anybody that it's all sunshine and roses. It's not. There's been times where I've been on the road, something's happened, and I didn't have any money to fix, what broke down or what happened. And I'll be the first to tell you, when situations arise like that, I'm talking to God at that point. I'm looking for a miracle. I'm looking for some kind of help. And I can honestly say, when I've got in a situation where I couldn't help myself, I've always had help.
Love that.
And I'll be the first one to tell you, prayer works. Prayer is real.
Amen.
But people will look at me and say, well, how can you talk about prayer and you're in a club and you don't go to church on Sunday morning And, you know, a lot of reasons I don't go to church on Sunday morning is because I'm in a club on Saturday night and I might not get home till 5 in the morning. And,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you know, I know who my Lord and Savior is, and I know it doesn't matter where I'm at. I can talk to him anytime. And
Yes.
if I need help, he'll help me. That's for sure.
Exactly. So tell everybody how they can find you.
Well, I'm on Facebook. The actual address is facebook.com/DLJ online. But I've actually been fortunate enough now you can just Google David Lee Jones and I'm everywhere. So I do have a Twitter account. I've got a personal Snapchat account, but I haven't really put that out there for people to join Snapchat yet because the only friend I have on Snapchat is my wife. And a drummer buddy of mine, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So I've got Twitter, I've got Facebook, I've got Instagram. I got a TikTok channel, YouTube, and I have a website, but it's down for maintenance right now. We're kind of remodeling the whole website, but when it's back online, it'll be davidleejones.org. So once we put it back up there, and I'm on Bands in Town for anybody that wants to, you know, find out where I'm at. They can follow me on Bands in Town. And the good thing about Bands in Town is once you follow me, if I'm within 100 miles, Bands in Town will automatically send you an email to remind you that I'm going to be playing there. And I had a calendar on my website that I always did manually. And I had all the views. You could click on them and it would pull up a separate window for Google Maps. And it would give you directions to the venue if you didn't know how to get there. But now with Bands in Town, they do all that stuff for you.
Oh, that's great.
So I've taken my old calendar off of the website. That's another thing we're, you know, in the process of doing. And I'm putting Bands in Town up there so it'll give you the option to go to Bands in Town and follow me. And it'll give you all the dates from that website on my website. So it makes it a lot easier for me because when I go online to update my calendar, it would take me 2.5, 3 hours because there's the desktop side. Then there's a mobile side where everybody sees on their phone. And a lot of times it's not user friendly and I had to keep going back and forth and fixing stuff. But with Bands in Town, I can go on my phone, put in the show date on their website, and it automatically updates on my website. So we're hoping to get it back online in the next few weeks or so.
Awesome. Love that. So, you know, we really enjoyed having you on today, and we look forward to having you back one day down the road.
Absolutely. I enjoyed it. I really did.
All right.
Thank you.
You have a
Appreciate
great day.
your time.
All right. Thank you.